The modern battlefield has become a glass battlefield. There is nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. In this war, the hunter can become the hunted in a matter of seconds. And perhaps no weapon system better illustrates this brutal reality than the American-supplied HIMARS, a system that was once hailed as a game-changer for Ukraine, but has since been forced into the shadows, emerging rarely and often fatally. A Russian reconnaissance drone, the ZALA Z-16, was conducting routine surveillance over the area. These drones are not the small quadcopters you see in first-person view videos. The ZALA Z-16 is a fixed-wing, unmanned aerial vehicle designed for long-endurance reconnaissance. It loiters high, it watches silently, and it transmits real-time data back to command centers. On this particular day, its operators spotted something valuable: a Ukrainian HIMARS multiple launch rocket system positioned near the populated village of Kochetok in Kharkiv region. The launcher was likely attempting to hide under tree lines or near structures, but the ZALA's optics were persistent. Once identified, the drone did not attack. It did not need to. Its job was to guide the hammer to the anvil. The ZALA Z-16 locked onto the target and began streaming precise geolocation data. Not just coordinates, but real-time updates in case the HIMARS attempted to relocate, because HIMARS is designed to shoot and scoot, to fire its rockets and move before counter-battery fire can arrive. But against an Iskander-M, that window of survival is terrifyingly small. The coordinates reached a Russian Iskander-M tactical missile unit. For those unfamiliar, the Iskander-M is a precision-guided ballistic missile system. It carries a warhead of several hundred kilograms, travels at hypersonic speeds, and is nearly impossible to intercept because of its terminal maneuvering capabilities. Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Igor Ignat previously admitted that the Iskander performs evasive maneuvers in its final phase, thwarting intercept attempts. The missile launched. Seconds later, the ZALA's camera captured the impact. The Iskander-M struck the HIMARS launcher directly. The footage shows the system entirely engulfed in fire, not just a hit, but a catastrophic kill. Secondary explosions rippled through the wreckage as ammunition cooked off. The ZALA UAV, functioning as the objective control means, confirmed the elimination of the target. Approximately 10 Ukrainian servicemen were reportedly killed in that single strike. This wasn't an isolated event. In February 2026, Russian forces destroyed another HIMARS launcher near Volodarovka in the Kharkiv region, again using Iskander-M missiles guided by reconnaissance assets. And in June 2025, 2 HIMARS systems were destroyed in Sumy region in a single strike. The official Russian Defense Ministry tally claims dozens of HIMARS launchers destroyed since the start of the war. But the exact number is difficult to verify independently. What is verifiable is the trend. HIMARS has gone from a prolific, feared system in 2022 to a rarely seen high-risk asset in 2026. The Russians have adapted. They've learned to hunt them. But here's where the story gets more complex and more frustrating for those trying to understand this war. While HIMARS struggles to survive in Ukraine, the exact same system just demonstrated devastating effectiveness in a different theater entirely. In March 2026, during Operation Epic Fury, the United States military employed HIMARS launchers against Iranian targets. The footage released by U.S. Central Command shows HIMARS firing Army Tactical Missile Systems, ATACMS, with precision, destroying Iranian short-range ballistic missiles and air defense components. These weren't just symbolic strikes. The Americans successfully targeted road-mobile Iranian missiles, specifically the Zulfiqar short-range ballistic missile system, along with the Sayyad-2 air defense systems protecting them. This was a coordinated, multi-domain assault designed to degrade Iran's ability to retaliate. So why does HIMARS succeed in Iran but struggle in Ukraine? The answer lies in the operational environment. In Iran, US forces enjoyed total air superiority, saturation of electronic warfare support, and a permissive intelligence environment. They could fire and maneuver without a peer enemy hunting them with equivalent technology. In Ukraine, HIMARS operates under constant threat from Russian reconnaissance drones, electronic warfare systems, and hypersonic missiles. The battle space is transparent for both sides, and the Russians have learned that the best way to defeat HIMARS is not to shoot down its rockets, but to destroy the launcher before it can fire, or immediately after. The Iskander-M has become the primary tool for this mission. It has also been used to destroy Ukrainian S-300 air defense systems, radar installations, and even Patriot batteries. When Ukrainian Air Force officials admitted that Patriots couldn't intercept Iskanders, they weren't making excuses. They were describing a genuine technological challenge. Now let's examine a second destruction event. This one involves a different Ukrainian system, destroyed by a different Russian weapon, and it reveals another layer of Russian tactical evolution. Recently, a Russian operator of a fiber optic drone called Knyaz Vandal identified a Ukrainian BM-21 Grad multiple launch rocket system. The Grad is a Soviet-era design, but still deadly, a 122mm rocket launcher capable of saturating an area with explosive fire. This particular Grad was loaded with rockets, positioned and ready to strike Russian military positions. But the Grad never fired. The Knyaz Vandal drone, guided by its operator, descended on the target. This was not a traditional radio-controlled first-person view drone. It was a fiber optic drone, tethered to its controller by a physical cable, spooling out as it flew. Why fiber optics? Because in the electronic warfare environment of Ukraine, radio signals are dangerous. Both sides employ sophisticated jamming systems that can sever the connection between a drone and its operator, causing the drone to crash or lose its target. A fiber optic drone cannot be jammed. It receives its commands through a physical wire, immune to electronic attack. When the Knyaz Vandal struck the BM-21 Grad, the result was catastrophic. The warhead created a bubble of explosion on impact. But that was only the beginning. The Grad was loaded with rockets, dozens of them, ready to fire. The initial explosion ignited these rockets, triggering secondary detonations of immense power. The footage shows rockets inside the launcher igniting and being thrown from their tubes by the force of the explosion. They didn't travel far. They detonated in the air, on the ground, all around the destroyed vehicle. The entire system was obliterated. This wasn't a one-time success. Russian sources report that Knyaz Vandal drones have also destroyed BM-27 Uragan heavy rocket launchers, and even German-supplied PZH-2000 self-propelled howitzers. The fiber optic technology represents a direct response to Ukraine's electronic warfare advantage, a way to deliver precision munitions without fear of signal loss. These two strikes, the Iskander-M on HIMARS and the fiber optic drone on Grad, illustrate a broader reality. Russian forces are increasingly dominating the battlefield through the integration of layered reconnaissance and precision strike. The result of this evolution is that Ukrainian artillery, once the backbone of their defensive operations, now operates under constant threat. HIMARS launchers, which can strike targets up to 80 kilometers away with guided rockets, are forced to shoot and scoot with extreme urgency. Even then, they are sometimes caught. BM-21 Grads and other tube artillery must hide in tree lines and under camouflage, only to be found by persistent drones and destroyed by weapons they cannot counter. Russian reconnaissance drones maintain what one Ukrainian analyst called a highway of death, extending up to 25 kilometers behind the front lines. Any vehicle moving in that zone risks detection and destruction. Ukrainian forces have adapted by using motorcycles and small teams for assaults because armored vehicles are too easily targeted. But even these adaptations only mitigate the problem. They don't solve it. That's all for today, and thank you guys for watching the video.